This is Greg Pruitt, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, and you're listening to The Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Hey guys, J-Rocc here from the Sports Fix, and we always talk about using our platform to try to help the world and the society we live in, and everywhere I go and everywhere we go, bullying is one of the problems in today's society. There's nothing worse than any person, big or small, strong or weak, adult or child, feeling picked on, pushed around, vulnerable, and victimized at the hands of a bully. Change comes one person at a time, and my good friends at No Such Thing as a Bully are working on skills and techniques and ways that we can all change and make things better for everyone. Find out more at nosuchthingasabully.com.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Visit fantasyjocks.com, your fantasy sports superstore. Championship belts, rings, trophies, and more.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
And away we go. Welcome in, everybody. We are live on the air. End of the week, wrapping it up here. The NBA Finals have begun. Cleveland, Golden State. Great game last night, overtime. And I know people probably going, hey, isn't this a Cleveland show? Why is everybody so upbeat over here? Because we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, game one goes to the Golden State Warriors. But if you're a Cavaliers fan, you know, all is not woe. However, of course, much of that also hinges on Kyrie Irving and how he feels here. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Last night, and a great game. A great game if you're a basketball fan. There were back and forth, bonus basketball, all of that stuff. After a 7-day wait, the NBA Finals, longest wait between the conference finals and the NBA Finals in history. And they gave you a little bit extra, and therefore it was definitely worth the wait. As now, speaking of the wait, there's the extra day. They wanted to switch the days so that you could get the Sunday game and then Tuesday, Thursday, and then hit the weekend again next week. So you've got the 72-hour window between games 1 and games 2, which is really just going to jack up the pontification level by people like us and all over the place talking about it. You get that extra day in between. But we're going to talk about the game last night. The Cavaliers fall 108-98, or excuse me, 108-100. Even I forget about the last 2 points there that didn't really matter at the end for the Cavaliers. But they fall. Game one, Golden State holds court in their home court, and now the Cavaliers look to regroup and come back and take game two before this thing heads to Cleveland. We're going to talk about that, break down last night's game. We're going to get Jonathan Knight, the sports writer extraordinaire, in on the conversation with us. Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTryWinLastNight.com scheduled to be with us, although a little bit up in the air on that now, but I'm sure that everything will work itself out here as we go. Either way, we're going to crack the phones. We're going to talk to you guys. We're going to do all the things here as we wrap up the week doing the Sports Fix thing. Let me tell you guys, too, I'm going to be able to open up more with you guys next week. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit, but this week I already started laying the groundwork for changes in the show. Let me tell you, that really got blown out of the water yesterday. June 4th, 2015 is gonna live for a long time in my memory beyond just what happened yesterday with the NBA Finals. I know it's all cryptic sounding, but I'll tell you what I'm talking about later. But you talk about game changers, we throw out cliches like that. I got hit with one of those game changers for real yesterday. And you know what? There's times to talk about stuff in the future. We'll get into it next week. There's some crazy things going on in my personal life, that's for sure. And then crazy in a good way, but crazy still defines the last 24 hours in my life. That being said, let's get rolling, you guys. Let's have some fun. Let's do the Sports Fix, baby. Welcome in, you guys. I am your host, the Big Daddy on the microphone, J-Rocc. Jerry Myers here with you guys, doing the thing across the Sports Fix radio network, which is under construction right now, although beginning to be patched up. iTunes, if you listen on iTunes, you had a disruption for about a week. You're now now back on track, and as a matter of fact, you should be updated with all of the shows that you missed. So that's been updated. Tune in. Their archives are being switched over to the new feed. As I explained earlier in the week, many of you on the smaller subsidiary feeds, the ways of getting the show that are not iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, the bigger places, Spreaker, there was going to be some switches because we're transitioning all of our stats servers, everything over to one main base server so that it makes it easier on our end to keep track of a lot of things. So there's going to be some interruptions and some disruptions in your service if you listen on Stitcher, on SoundCloud, on all of those different places. And so thank you guys for being patient with that. But anyways, welcome in across the ever-evolving radio network. Tune in, Spreaker, Mixler. Maybe you're listening live on the sportsfix.net, our home base, your one-stop shop for everything you need. Welcome in as well, those of you that listen, as I said, on delay 24/7. Guys around the world, thousands of you listening on iHeartRadio, the world's largest J-Rocc. You can use the phones, use your social media, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix, CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Hit us up on the phones, 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. Let's do the thing. Let's get rolling. Let's kick it off right where we started. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Golden State Warriors, launching Game 1 of the NBA Finals last night. And as I said, now obviously you've got the Kyrie Irving factor. You've got the injury. I'm not trying to overlook that as that for now. And I want to look at last night's basketball game played by these two teams. Of course, 108-100 overtime. Golden State gets the victory. Cavs, no points. I mean, they went on that dry stretch. A 10-0 run for Golden State. That was the end of it. In reality, my biggest question mark was why they took the jump shot at the end of the game. I mean, really, I thought that was a classic drive to the hoop, either get the bucket, get the foul, go to overtime. I mean, there were three possible ways for that to end, and I was wrong because there was a fourth, and it just felt like the Cavaliers missed an opportunity to walk off and steal that game. And I believe that for all the people that say, well, Golden State had a terrible first quarter and they overcame this and overcame that, and I'll flip it with you. Look at the Cavaliers. If you're looking for reasons to come out of that game feeling good about the rest of the series, I think you can do every bit as much on the Cavaliers side of the ball. Of course, the big spotlight, LeBron with 44 points. You had a great effort from Kyrie Irving up until he went out in overtime, which again, would have, could have, should have. But if the game ends in regulation, perhaps the next thing doesn't happen that perhaps further injures Kyrie Irving. But either way, the Cavaliers, for J.R. Smith, awful night shooting, 3 of 13. In many ways, last night felt to me like the way the Cavaliers started the Chicago Bulls series, like the way they let it get away and ended up evolving throughout the series and growing and figuring out their weaknesses as they figure out where they're strong, where they're weak, whether it's Kyrie going down, whatever it's going to be. I really got that feeling coming out of last night's game. I mean, really, you saw a lot of that, and some people say, oh, well, I saw an article that said the clock struck midnight on guys like Matthew Dellavedova, and I say, well, look at the heavy dose of Kyrie Irving last night. Kyrie Irving did not go out until overtime, so there's a difference in the roles that people played. Now, obviously, Delly's role and importance gets ratcheted up. His minutes and his opportunities will ratchet up in Game 2, regardless whether Kyrie's out or whether he plays a limited game or whatever. But I think that's a bit of an unfair thing to say because there was a reason things were played the way they were. And I have no interest in hearing this. It's continuing the David Blatt, anti-David Blatt narrative that's out there. All of these people, national pundits and some local guys, pounding on David Blatt this morning. How could you let Kyrie Irving play 44 minutes on a bad knee? It's the NBA Finals. Get out of here, man. If the guy says he can play, you're going to let him play. We're not managing minutes here. If we're managing his minutes, then he doesn't need to be playing at all, to be honest with you, if that's the case. If we're managing minutes, he doesn't even need to be playing at all because this is This is do or die. This is win or go home. And I shouldn't use that. I know with real life wars and stuff, I'm never a big fan on using cliches like do or die. But it's win or go home. It's do it. It's the NBA Finals. All of those cliches that they throw at you on television. And so get out of here. That's just another reason to go attack David Blatt. If Kyrie Irving says he can play, and he's going to play because you need him, because he's one of your guys, because that's what you do. Because everybody's hurt at this point in time. If there's a minutes restriction, then there's a minutes restriction. If the word is you go play ball and coach looks and says, is there a minute restriction, and nobody says nothing, then how can you come back on him? Get out of here with that nonsense. That's just looking to attack David Blatt once again. Brian Windhorst, I saw another one of his, simple-minded narratives that I guess people will believe if you believe the world of Brian Windhorst. But anyways, I'm not buying it. You shouldn't either. Sell on that stuff right there, because you play your guys. Kyrie Irving played a fantastic game. And if they don't go to overtime, if Kyrie Irving doesn't limp off the court because of what he felt in his knee, then nobody's saying a word. And it's about how gutsy Kyrie Irving was and how smart this and do. Get out of here. It continues the bias that you've seen. But I'll get off of that tangent here for just a minute. And you know what? I'm going to get to, you know what, you guys, I know you're trying to call in, but I've actually got to hit the break here in a moment. I've got Jonathan Knight joining me. I'm going to open up some live phones a little bit later in the show. And matter of fact, I should go ahead and get this break out of the way now, because I've got JK joining me momentarily, and I want him to join in on the conversation right here. But getting back to kind of wrapping up my point real quick before we do go into the break, looking at the way that game played itself out, especially in the 48 minutes before you hit overtime. I mean, obviously, it's a momentum thing there. You're at home, you miss a couple of shots, and really both teams went back and forth missing some shots there at first, and then, a couple buckets. Next thing you know, a lead goes 2, goes 4, they make a few free throws, and you quickly find yourself down like they did in overtime, and that was a momentum thing. And for that couple of minutes there, Golden State did what they needed to do to hold serve. Keep that in mind too. It took everything that they had at home and at full strength to hold serve and win that game with the Cavaliers. I know that this is going to be a series here, but I believe that this is going to play out, as I said, much in the same way that the Chicago Bulls series played out for the Cavaliers here. I think you're going to see adjustments coming from the Cavs and the coaching staff and the way they attack Game 2. And I'm telling you, the Cavs are coming out of Game 2 splitting this thing, as we all said that they need to do. That's what your goal is in a road series like that, is to get one, split it, get the home court advantage, then come on back home and really start making some hay. And I believe that's what you're going to see. And I stick to what I said. I believe that if Golden State had not won that game last night, then I think this series would have really started to turn the corner for the Cavaliers. I still believe that. I believe the way the game played out last night, I don't know, you tell me what you guys saw, but I believe it bodes well for how the remainder of this series is going to play out for the Cavs. Let's find out about that when we come back. The sports writer extraordinaire, Jonathan Knight, joined next up in Cavs, Warriors, Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and so much more. Don't go anywhere. Jonathan Knight joins me next, talking NBA Finals here on The Fix.
You can't help me if you can't help yourself. You better make a layup. Slide, slippity slide. I do what I do just to survive.
Get your fix.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got to do.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buff.
The Sports Fix is on iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeart app today. Subscribe to the show and get your fix. Sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize. I mean, a really real prize. Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com.
Hey everybody, this is Jerry the King Lawler from WWE, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Oh my God, it's him. Crank it, Jerry.
God, indeed, it is him, Jonathan Knight, getting ready to join me here on the Sports Fix. That's right, author of The Making of Major League, by the way, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But let's get back into the show, right back into it. Welcome in, you guys, to the Sports Fix. J-Rocc back with you here, as I said. Jonathan Knight, sports writer extraordinaire, getting ready to join me on the hotline. We're talking NBA Finals, Cavs Warriors Game 1. Warriors escape in overtime. However, as I said, I am perhaps different than everybody else. Then again, everybody else thinks that the Warriors are just going to run away with this thing. I believe Game 1 played out very much in a good way for the Cavs in a lot of ways until you hit the overtime. And I still think that this series is setting up to play out much like the Chicago series here. And I think we'll see big adjustments in the chess match from Game 1 to Game 2 on Sunday. Let's talk about that. You guys, Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix, CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And I know some of you guys trying to call in. I'll get to the phones a little bit later on in the hour, but I'm going to go back to them now. From my man, Jonathan Knight. JK, how you doing, buddy?
Jerry, I'm tired. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Yeah, that was a bit of a... First off, they fool you. They trick you here. They tell you 9 o'clock, then you get there, and they say, 13
we know
minutes
better
till
than that.
tip-off. Yeah, I'm like, man, this is the longest wait till tip-off ever, and they finally got that doggone game started. But, it was, about 12:30 our time when the thing wrapped up, but...
not counting the wind-down time that you have to tack on to the end. I mean, it's not like it ends and you can go right to sleep. A game like that, you need a good 45 minutes to kick down and get to a point where you can shut down. So, there's some groggy people around Cleveland today.
No, absolutely. We're all right there with it. So let's talk a bit. I mean, I opened up the show, and I'm sure some people will not agree with me, but I'm not walking out of last night's game, woe is us, and the Cavaliers are doomed. And really, in many ways, I'm a little surprised by the way the game ended, just because I thought it set up for the Cavaliers to walk that thing off and get out of there, and I was really shocked. I hate to do the second guess, and I was really shocked that LeBron did not just drive to the hoop instead of pulling up on that jump shot there and getting himself to the foul line. But, I think that the way the game played out, in a lot of ways, Golden State was lucky to win that thing at home, and I think that it does bode well for the way this series could play out for the Cavs.
Well, and I'm interested to hear more of that theory, because I need some of that right now. I'm not necessarily despondent, but I'm not encouraged. I mean, setting aside Kyrie Irving for the moment, because I think that's the big reason why most people are are ready to jump off the top of the building here this morning. I think that, setting that aside for the moment, and that is what's going to happen, but setting that entirely aside, you're right in the sense, and I agree with you that, yeah, I mean, the Cavs were in a position to win that game. They were, even prior to having the ball for the last possession, it really did play out. They had the nice start, built a nice lead, and really controlled the game. I mean, it was back and forth and very close, but they pretty much held the lead. They basically, anytime Golden State tied it or would come within a point, it's 1 point, 4 point, 2 point, it would just go back and forth. So they'd answer one another. They were right there. They were toe to toe. But the thing that bothers me about this, and we'll get to the last possession in a second because I think that's the heart of it. But what really bothered me about that, even while the Cavs were hanging in there with them, you got the sense as the game went on, and especially now looking at it in retrospect, that this was as good as the Cavs defense is going to be able to do against Golden State. I will go out on a limb and say they will not do better than they did last night in terms of points allowed. They held them under 100 in regulation. Steph Curry had a nice game, but shot 50%, scored 26 points. It was not unearthly. He certainly did not have the performance that LeBron did. He didn't need to, and that's another issue. But the point is that I don't think you're going to be able to expect more out of the Cavs, at least defensively and rebounding wise. I think that's another problem, that the Cavs they got out to their lead because they were dominating the boards offensively and defensively. That was the key, and that went away, and that's why Golden State came back. Golden State wound up out rebounding the Cavs, which if that happens, the Cavs are dead meat. If there's going to be one area that they need to win any of these games, it's going to be rebounding.
Oh,
but
for sure.
Going back to the original point,
let me jump in real quick right there, though. Hang on, JK.
Go ahead.
Because I'm with you right with what you said. When you said, you just said kind of hits on that as far as the Cavs to defend Golden State better than you did. However, I believe that they proved that they absolutely can defend Golden State. And if they can play this entire series the way they played defense last night, obviously overtime was a little 3-minute ball of momentum that you have to separate from, I think, the way the rest of the game played out. But defensively, I believe if the Cavs can play that defense the rest of this series, they'll win the series, because it may not get better, but that was the defense you needed to play to beat Golden State. And I knew that they could, and I think that they showed that they could.
And that's I guess that's the dichotomy. That's where people land today. Either you look at the way the Cavs played defensively and said, okay, this is how they're going to play Golden State. They're capable of playing Golden State every single game this way. Or you look at it, no, this is as good as it's going to get. It's only going to get worse from here. They may not get lit up, but they're not going to do as well. And if the defense, and I think herein lies the problem, if the defense is not this good, hypothetically, in Game 2 or any of the games that follow, the Cavs offense, with or without Kyrie, is going to have its own problems. I think Golden State is, I don't know if they're better necessarily defensively than we expected, but caused some problems for the Cavs. And the quick finger to point is to J.R. Smith. He had an absolutely miserable game, took some bad shots, missed a lot of good shots. But we've been saying throughout the playoffs that when you look at when a guy has a bad game or a team has a bad game shooting,
look at the defense.
The knee jerk is to, he had a bad day, he'll be back the next day. And maybe that's true, and maybe he'll bounce back. But at the same time, you look at that and say, as we've been saying throughout the playoffs, maybe it's not. When you get to this stage, you're not, and so a team or a guy has a really bad game, it's not an aberration necessarily. That may be a trend. That may be what's happening. It may be the way Golden State defended him. It may be that he's just not going to have a good series.
And let me jump in there.
And again, it's the same way as looking at the defense. Do you think this is going to be par for the course, or is this, in this case, as bad as it's going to get?
And I'm with you there, but I'll flip back, and I go back to the Chicago series because I really see some parallels to the way Game 1 went, and just I think the way this series is going to go. Remember J.R. Smith when he came back after the suspension? Didn't he have a terrible shooting game when the Cavs lost Game 3 there? And it was, well, there you go, the Cinderella's fallen off the pumpkin here, J.R. Smith now, and then he came out the next night, and I think he hit about 83 pointers in a row, and he did so I don't know his ability, and at first I thought he was going to have a big first 3 or 4 shots, and then he just went ice cold after that. And, the flip side, too, and I'm with you about the defense of the Warriors. I mean, the Cavs, though, they went on just an ice-cold run. They ended the game with 4 or 5 straight misses in regulation, and then obviously they went over 8 until the garbage bucket there at the end of overtime. That really, you could say the same thing there, too. They don't go ice-cold there in that stretch, easily. It changes things as well. So I'm very interested, but it really feels to me, and going back, I even went back before the show and looked at many of the same words written by the same people after the first game and the third game of that Chicago series. Because remember, Cavs, were down 2-1 at one point there, and it was all is over for the Cavs. And many of the same things about many of the same people being written. You could just change the words here. How the Cavs, and I think they will, bounce back, change things up, and come out in Game 2. But I fully expect the Cavaliers to win Game 2 and still come out with the split. I think that you feel bolstered by the way things went, even if you lost. Although Kyrie really balances, obviously that aside there, because you wonder what exactly is the extent of what's wrong with him.
Yeah, and it's a good point. The Cavs have been here before, and the critics have been here before, so that it's all true. I mean, that these are all remains to be seen. We need to avoid extremes in these situations. But you hit on, to me, what the crux of the problem is when you talked about the cold stretch in overtime and really at the end of regulation as well. And at the centerpiece of this is that last shot and the last possession of regulation and the last shot that LeBron took there. First of all, a bad choice. Who are we to criticize LeBron? Obviously, he's made shots like that before. He's done incredible things, and every time it seems like you doubt him, he pulls something off. But like you said, in that context, even though you're basically not going to draw a foul in that situation, you're going to have to get stabbed, shanked, beheaded in order to draw a foul in that situation in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. But I still like the idea, as you said, of him driving to the basket. He may not get there, but someone will come open, something will happen of him creating a basket either for himself or for someone else, or even just taking a higher percentage shot than that. I mean, my God, you're coming out of a timeout. How do you draw that up? I mean, timeout. Okay, everybody stay on that one side of the floor, and LeBron over here, and let's just see what happens. Like, there was no thought, there was no strategy, there was nothing to it. And then he winds up taking a fadeaway, step back, 1 foot, 23-foot shot that he's made before. I don't want to completely poo-poo it. But, not the shot you want in that situation. And to me, that's the harbinger of the problem. That as the game went on, while the Cavs were, if not cruising, while they were keeping pace with Golden State the entire way, they tend to fall into that. When things get tight, they tend to clench up, and they fall back into that pattern that we have seen throughout LeBron's career, both this phase and phase 1, in that he's just, every time, let's see if he can do it. Sometimes he can. Most of the time he can't, at least last night. No one else was able to step up. It really didn't look like anyone was interested in stepping up, or necessarily that he was interested in allowing someone to step up. So that became a problem, because you could tell in those last few minutes Golden State had so many more weapons that were able to win that game. So my fear is that this is going to be one of those situations where the Cavs can go toe-to-toe with Golden State. Even if Kyrie's out, I think they'll be able to hold their own. They're not going to get blown away in any of these games. But when the pedal hits the metal, when the rubber hits the road in the last few minutes, Golden State's going to knows that they have control of the situation. That they have, even if you stop Curry, there are 2 or 3 other guys that are going to be able to score. And especially now if Kyrie is out, which it certainly looks like he is, it's just, well, if LeBron goes video game, you can stay alive. But if he doesn't, the Cavs are in big trouble.
I still remind people that may not have watched the entire Western Conference playoffs that, Golden State strong at home in the regular season, but they were beat by a short-handed Memphis team at home. I have no doubt that the Cavaliers can win the one game that they need to win in Golden State in this series. But, I'm with you about the end of that game in general and the way that came down, and I'm hoping, as you say, that's not a a harbinger of things to come here in the remainder of the series. I really do expect to see the Cavs make adjustments. Hey, if you want your where were the Indians at this time last year stats, here you go. LeBron, the 2 championships that he won, he's 0 for 1 in game 1 in those 2, and then came back to win the series. In the NBA Finals, 3 of the last 4 NBA champions lost game 1 and then went on to win the series. So there's a couple of reasons for you not to, completely lose your mind. Also, don't forget that the Cavs at one point were down 2-1 and on the verge of elimination, according to most of the world, against the Chicago Bulls, and they hadn't lost a game since then until last night. So, I mean, this is a resilient bunch. I really do expect the Cavs to sit down, watch the film of what happened yesterday, and make some adjustments. And I do think they come out and grab game 2, my man. I really do. Kyrie Irving, by the way, talking about, and they will adjust. I like what you said, because I think so many people are going, well, I say, look at last night. Well, what did Delly do? They didn't, because Kyrie played 44 minutes. Let's not act like these guys were stepping into Kyrie's place, and Delly played 52 minutes and didn't score last night and couldn't handle, because I saw an article that actually somebody wrote, the pumpkin has melted on Delly and James Jones and these role players, and I'm like, no, Kyrie did not get hurt until overtime. I mean, he was playing his Kyrie Irving load. And by the way, when he defended Steph Curry, the Cavaliers did very well against Curry compared to everybody else. When it was Kyrie and Curry one-on-one, I think Curry was held to 1 for 5. And a really good job. When it was everybody else, it was a much, much, much more successful night for him. So I thought Kyrie did a heck of a job defensively, offensively, all of that stuff. But, and by the way, speaking of narratives, let me ask you, because speaking of these silly things that get reported by certain people, how about the heat on David Blatt for playing Kyrie Irving too many minutes when he was full go, cleared to play, and it's the frickin' NBA Finals? Somehow David Blatt is being criticized for allowing poor Kyrie Irving to play 44 whole minutes.
Yeah, this is what you get. This is what in Cleveland we're not used to necessarily, because we never hit this stage. We get this hysterical media coverage of just as close to Super Bowl week as you're going to get, right? I mean, this is an ongoing, similar to the World Series, I suppose, too. An ongoing, it's not just one day. It's going to continue on for a week or two here. And so this is what you get. With breaks between games, you're going to get this overwrought, way too in-depth analysis of everything, and this is what we're talking about. So, if David Blatt had only played him 42 minutes, he wouldn't have gotten hurt. Like, okay, so we have bloggers and journalists pretending they're doctors, and who knows what actually happened if you ask that. This is what you get.
JK, did you know that there's a rift in the Cavaliers organization, according to Brian Windhorst? Now, there's been a building tension for weeks between the Cavs and Kyrie Irving and Kyrie's dad and Kyrie's agent, because the Cavs are pushing this poor kid to play and injure himself and cripple him for the future. And they're worried about the future of this poor kid, and they don't want him to play too much. And that was an article that I read this morning from Windhorst talking about it's well known around the league that for weeks this tension and this divide is building about the way the Cavs are treating Kyrie Irving. I mean, look, I get it that pain tolerance is an individual thing, but I mean, I think that the narratives that come out of some of these people, and I'm sorry, Windhorst is one that's, last week when they talked to Kevin Love, you and I talk about sometimes, like, I get it. When nobody's talking, you speculate. But when you ask an athlete point-blank questions and they answer them, that's the best you can do. You can print their answer. When Kevin Love said, hey, man, I'm coming back to Cleveland as far as I'm concerned, the first article Windhorst printed said, despite what Kevin Love just said, word is that he's leaving Cleveland. And I'm like, well, why do you even ask him? Why did you even ask him?
Why ask anybody anything if you're just going to dismiss their answer? You ask them a yes/no question, they answer yes, and then you explain why they really mean no. Then why? Right. What's the point in asking them in the first place? Yeah. And the Kyrie thing, I think this is if you remember about a week ago, I guess during the last couple of days of the Atlanta series, the flip side of this story was that there was this tension in the Cavs organization about Kyrie that he was kind of wussing out, that he should be out there, but the other players were kind of pissed at him that everybody was dinged up and he could have been playing and he wasn't. So this is just the opposite end of that spectrum. Neither one of them are true completely. There's probably elements of truth in both of them, but reality is always right in the middle. It rarely ever swings to the far end of either one of these spectrums. So this is that. This is the pendulum swinging back the other way. I'm sure it's nowhere near as dramatic as Windhorse is making it sound, just as it was nowhere near as dramatic as making it sound like his teammates were all upset with him because he was a prima donna and didn't want to play. And none of this is the truth.
No, absolutely. And I mean, still, I get a kick out of it. I'm very intrigued by those, and I mention them a lot. But he's one that he makes it easy because, like I said, when you ask a guy a question and then say, "Hey, you know what? I don't care what he just said. Here's what I think anyway." Yeah. Then I'm done. But what do you think, JK? Game 2 coming up this weekend. Will the Cavaliers split this thing, or do you think they're coming back to Cleveland? 0-2.
Well, I think the first thing obviously is Kyrie. I think it's not even necessarily if he wins or if he plays they have a chance to win, and if he doesn't they don't. I think it's more that they just make a call and stick with it, because I think the worst case scenario is he gets the test and it's inconclusive, it's dinged up, but he can probably play, and then he tries to plays 10 minutes, and then he's done. That's your worst case scenario, because now it's a blow in the course of the game. And if things are already not going well, it's not our night. It gets all against us. Whereas if you just shut him down and say, look, he's not going to play game 2, we need to rise to the occasion, maybe then you stir that sense of responsibility, that sort of sense of grit that we saw throughout Atlanta and Chicago when he didn't play. The Cavs, you could argue that the Cavs have been at their best without him during these playoffs. Not to say you don't want him out there, of course you do, but if he's not entirely healthy and he's a bit of a liability, and just psychologically, if you're kind of going up and down with whether or not he plays and your optimism is just based on whether or not he's out there, then just pull the plug and say, no, we're going to, like Gene Hackman and Hoosiers, my team's on the floor. You go with what you got, and you don't pine or wish that somebody was out there who wasn't, or feel bad and complain that somebody's at 70% when they should be 100%. You go with what you got, and if that means starting Dellavedova, that's what you do, and then hope that J.R. Smith and Shumpert and other guys can step up. So knowing that, I think that it's almost, it would be better for the Cavs to just sit him down, say, no, he's out, don't make it a game time decision, don't do any of that. Just have him, no, he's not playing game 2. That's just assuming that he's not just completely done. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. Sure. But yeah, I mean, the Cavs will hang in there. I think that however this plays out, they're not going to just get blown away. They're going to be competitive, even if they lose in 5 games, 6 games, whatever. I think these games are going to be competitive. This is the dangerous one to me, because this is the one that the Cavs have suffered a blow. They let one kind of slip away. This felt like their chance to steal one. It slipped away. Golden State probably feels, okay, now we're at home again. We escaped. Now we can win one here. So this is the scary one. If the Cavs were able to pull this one out, it's a brand new series. If they lose it, now you're really starting to worry, and now it's like, okay, we need to come home and try and salvage our season and stay alive. You're not thinking about winning; you're just thinking about surviving. So, I really don't have a vibe. I don't have a vibe on this series, to be honest. I'm feeling bad about it now with what we saw in the last few minutes last night, but that's not these. I've written this team off before, and they've surprised me. So we shall see. I think we need to get back to that grit. We need to refine that grit that they had in the Chicago and the Atlanta series, and see if they can ride it to another unexpected victory.
I have an interesting question for you, kind of with what you just said, but I'm going to call my shot for Sunday's game. J.R. Smith, he's going to be the MVP. I'm telling you, he seems to have a knack for having really bad games and bouncing back from them. He's not, and that's what happens when you're not afraid to shoot. I mean, you keep shooting, and for every 3 for 13 game, you come back and have a 6 for 8 or 6 for 9 or something like that. And sure. I think that's what's coming, especially when you get to everybody. Because look, here's what the Cavs have done best, in my opinion, and this is going to sound rah-rah or whatever, but what they do best is look around and say, this is what we got, like you just said, and they each just go out there and step up, and they've done a good job of maybe playing bigger when they're needed. I know, again, that sounds kind of crazy what I mean, but I mean like they step into the moment. J.R. Smith's one of those guys that has stepped up big in games where Kyrie hasn't been able to play, where they needed another guy, and I think Smith is going to be that guy to do that Sunday. But let me ask you something. As you said, the last few minutes kind of gives you the bad taste. Let's say that you don't go to overtime. Pretend that overtime does not happen. The Cavs either won or lost at the buzzer in regulation. It doesn't even matter if they won or lost. Let's just pretend that game ends at the end of regulation. How do you feel coming out of it?
I feel I'd have the same fears and same hesitations. I think overtime did really put him under a microscope. I think that was, but at the same time, in a way, you almost like you following that sentiment, you do almost throw out overtime, because I know I felt. And you really kind of got that sense that when they did not win at the end of regulation, that this game was over. I mean, there was no thought in my mind like, well, that was their chance and they blew it. They're going to lose. They're not going to survive these 5 minutes. They held them off. They had their shot, 2 shots, missed them both. They blew it. That was their chance. This game is over. And it just felt like they never would admit. No one would ever admit this, but that's the way they looked. They just looked deflated. So and then it snowballed, and then Kyrie got hurt, and it just turned into a mess. So yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think that they did get away from them in overtime. They're much better than what we saw in overtime. That was the worst they looked all night. Those 5 minutes were not reflective of how they played. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe that's probably a good way to look at it, because they won't, no matter what happens, who does or doesn't play on Sunday, they won't be as bad as they were in overtime. They may have some of the same struggles that they had in regulation, but they'll be better than that. They'll be mentally and psychologically will be better than what we saw. So I think that's a good approach, is to lop off overtime and say, you know what, they lost, and focus on what happened in regulation.
I mean, because overtime wasn't even just 5 minutes. It was really a 2.5 to 3 minute stretch, because the first 2 minutes, the first 6 or 7 possessions, neither team scored. They went back and forth, and nobody scored. So if the Cavaliers, again, you talk about that 0 for 8, if they had simply made 2 of their first 3 or 4 shots to start overtime, they'd have been playing from ahead the entire overtime. That was a 5-play sequence, really. I mean, they get the lead, they had 2 free throws, now they're up 4. Next thing you know, they hit the big 3 after the miss or whatever, and now the crowd's going crazy. You're up 7 in overtime, and the game's over. That's really the extent of how that went. That was really a big momentum move.
A lot of it's not just missing shots, it's the quality of shots.
Right.
The shot at the end of regulation is an example of that. But I think it was the very first shot, the very first possession of overtime, maybe the second for the Cavs, where Mozgov wound up with the ball underneath and tried to dip under the hoop and do a reverse layup.
That was not a
you're
travel.
Just thinking, what in the world are you doing, sir? You're over 7 foot. Just go up, power. Either you're gonna dunk it or get fouled. It just made no sense. There's just, not to criticize him. He had a very nice game.
Yeah.
I don't want to focus on the negative here, but that's what I'm talking about. That was not a good shot. That was not a good way or a good waste of a possession, because it wasn't a good shot. And there were plenty of those, particularly in overtime, particularly in the last 5 minutes of regulation, where you can say, yeah, the Cavs missed a shot, but it was not a good shot. It was not a good possession. A lot of somebody taking a step back 21-footer. Those are not high percentage shots, so not surprisingly, you're going to miss a bunch of them.
About the one, I know you're talking about the reverse that Mozgov put up.
The travel. Not the travel.
That one, Hakeem Olajuwon move, man. That was a good move down there, and you're going to call him for the travel? That one was one that got me for sure. But, that reverse, I'm like, what are you doing? You're trying to do the Michael, what was it, 20 years after Jordan did it against the Lakers? I think today is actually the anniversary of that, the 25-year anniversary or whatever. But
and it did kind of look like that. And that's a good way to round it out, I think, to bring it full circle, is all the LeBron comparisons to Jordan, and especially now that he's in the finals for a 5th straight time. People are, is he better than Jordan? Has he surpassed Jordan? Blah, blah. And I look at that last possession of regulation and think not necessarily that Jordan would have made that shot, but Jordan would have taken a better shot. He may not have made it, and it may not have even been necessarily a good shot, but it would have been a better shot than that. He would have moved. Somebody would have done something. There would have been more motion in the offense. He'd have taken a better shot in that situation.
Yeah, and that's the set that drives me crazy. What doesn't matter if it's Mike Brown, David Blatt, whoever it is. There's 24 or less seconds in the game. Give the ball to LeBron. The four of you go over there, and we're going to run this clock down, and we're going to take our chances. And I know where you started it. I'm not trying to second guess either because the guys made the shots and they play the game and we don't. Sure. But that was just as it was happening. I know every single person watching is going, why? It just, you thought they cleared out. It's one-on-one. Take him to the baseline and go. But, as we say, man, I think that they're great. What this team's strength is what they do in between games. I think we've seen that emphasized in the playoffs. They adjust better than any other team in the NBA from one game to the next, and especially when you're playing the same team over and over, and I think we're going to see that as they come out here. I mean, hey, Tyronn Lue and David Blatt and those guys have been doing a great defensive job from game to game, and I expect to see them step up even more. And if they can play better, like you said they can't, if they can play better defensively than they did in Game 1, then I'd feel even better about the Cavs' chances here.
That's true. I mean, and that's another way to look at it. Again, I mean, you can spin these statistics and premises all different ways. But yeah, that's another way to look at it. Well, yeah, could they play better? I don't think so. I mean, just knowing what I know about Golden State, but perhaps Curry is going to have a cold night, something like that, where they won't hit. The one thing that did happen, that did unfold the way when we talked last week, exactly the way whichever team won the three-point battle was going to win the game, and that's exactly what happened. Golden State did not shoot particularly well from three-point. They shot about their average, maybe a little under their average in the playoffs, but they hit more threes and shot a higher percentage than the Cavs. So it was that's sort of the statistic that I'm looking at. That I'll be surprised if a team is going to outshoot another one in three-pointers and still manage to lose the game.
Yep. If the Cavaliers continue to have the Golden State Warriors under 100 points after the 48 minutes have been played, they're gonna make their case in this series. JK, my man, I've talked about you a lot this week on the show, my man, because Major League, of course, the book, I got it in the mail. I let you know as soon as I got it. The other day, I talked about it for probably 20 minutes to start the show. I said, man, I'm telling you, man. I ask every guest, I go, hey, Dan Wismar, man, did you read the book yet? You got to read it. But seriously, you did such an awesome job on the making of Major League, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And that's kind of the thing that I'm really interested to see that's really starting to get fun just now, just this week and over the next week or so, because it's just now getting out and people are getting their hands on it and starting to reading it. I heard from Charlie Sheen's manager that he loves it, that he needed another copy. He really loved it. I heard from the former Sister Mary Assumpta. She got in touch with me. She got it. She says she's having a hard time putting it down. So I say this not to blow sunshine up my own skirt, but rather to say that was the goal, is so that people who do love the movie that they'll appreciate it, because there was that sense of responsibility that these people really love this movie and they deserve something that is on par with that. They deserve something that will kind of supplement that love that they have. And if it's not good, they'll let you know. So far, so good, that everyone seems to really be digging it, and I know you were enjoying it, and everybody else I've heard from is really kind of getting a kick out of it, which is great.
I mean, just so much stuff. For those of you that are just movie nerds, all the different things about how literally the entire premise of the movie, changed afterwards when they realized, hey, people don't like what we did here at the end of this thing, But I'll give you a funny story. Things that you'll learn in the book that you didn't know before, man, was I was hanging out, obviously, like everybody, watching the game last night with a group of people. And at halftime, we're talking about some stuff, and I knew that a couple of the guys, big, actually Major League 1 and 2 are sitting right next to me on the DVD shelf. So I'm like, hey, we were talking about the Indians or something, because I was joking that it was the one Indians game of the season that everybody forgot was happening last night. Like I'm like, man, I love the Tribe, and I forgot to check the score for the last half hour myself, And,
right. Yeah.
So that's how it came up last night, and I brought up Major League, and I said, hey, did you guys know there's actually a script, and I told the whole story about the new script for the new movie that's just sitting there waiting for somebody to put their money behind it. And people's eyes got big, like, get out of here, man. I'm like, yeah, man, it's the new Indians with some of the old guys in it, and it's the real Major League. Like, even Wesley Snipes, I mean, he just got out of prison, so he's looking for new movies to do, man. He's like, I'm not too big for this one anymore, man. And I'm like, but how cool would that be? And I got a whole room of guys going, that would be freaking awesome to do a new Major League, but you've got Charlie Sheen and Tom Berenger and all of these guys in it. You know, how awesome would that be? And that, I had no idea until I read your book about that.
Yeah, and you're right. That's something that that I thought was common knowledge. I just thought that the word had leaked, but apparently not, and that, which is kind of cool that this is able to sort of shine some light on that, because that's how this. Honestly, they're at a point where this is something like this has got to. There needs to be sort of a groundswell to make this happen. There are just several roadblocks that are standing in the way, most of which are money related. But yeah, I mean, if there's enough. Ideally, if there's enough popularity and enough, sign a petition, I don't know what it's going to take, but if there's some sort of the public rises up and demands that this happen, then it has a much better chance of actually happening, which would be fantastic.
Financially, just quickly on that, with all the things that get greenlit today, especially we live in the reboot era where they reboot these franchises like crazy. I mean, you see the new Summer Vacation coming out this year, and I mean, all of these franchises, they get rebooted. But you would think as well with like Netflix, with all of the original content, they do the Daredevil thing now, and they've got all of the original series that they're taken away from television. There's so many more platforms, people looking for original, full budget, full production developments, that you've got to think there's a market for that. I mean, clearly, you've got to think so. How long that movie survived, how much money. I wonder how much money the DVDs alone have made over the years, just being sold over and over, the millions of copies that are out there. You've got to think that there's a huge market. And I wonder why it's so hard to get financed when anything can get financed today. Like, hey, that sounds like a good idea, Somebody, I used to joke that years ago I wanted to meet the millionaire who thought, hey, Macho Man Randy Savage should make a rap album. I'm going to pay for it, And he paid for it. And I'm like, why can't I ever meet the business guy who thinks that these terrible ideas are great? Because you see it all the time, and then you see a great idea waiting for somebody to put some money behind it.
Right, and that's what's really frustrating, really maddening about it, because there totally would be. There's an audience. I mean, there's a built-in, already established audience, and that's why you see so many reboots and remakes and sequels, is because it makes it. You already have an established niche. You know exactly who these people are. It's an identifiable brand. So more than half of the marketing promotion work in visibility is already done. Now you just need to spread the word and get those butts in the seats. But something like this, and that's why it is so frustrating. It's why it's so frustrating for David Ward, the writer, who's written this new one in addition to the original one. I mean, it's very frustrating. There's a lot of sort of politicking type things behind the scenes that are just, it's difficult for insiders to understand, let alone the average Joe moviegoer to really get how this goes. So it is very, very frustrating, because on the surface and at its heart, it just seems so simple. Well, yes, this is something that is clearly in demand, that people will eat up if you give it to them. But yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that just is not going to compute with you or I or the average person who would be excited about it. So at some point, hopefully, the scales will tip, and all of those benefits will eventually outweigh the sort of the labyrinth of problems and issues that are holding it back. So, and the clock is ticking. Let's face it. I mean, we're to a point now where, even in a sort of unbelievable premise, you are sort of stretching the boundaries of making this happen.
Right.
It's now been 5 years since the script was written, and that was sort of the intention, was that it was going to happen more or less quickly, and it just hasn't. So yeah, clock's ticking a little bit to make this. If this is going to happen, it needs to happen fairly soon.
I'm telling you, I have visions of Charlie Sheen reading this book and smiling and just calling somebody and going, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen, man. I've got, because nostalgia is always a kicker for people, man. And and so, anyways, we'll see. You and I could literally, you joked about doing a show. We need to, because I could sit here and just talk to you about the book and just bounce questions off of you and just say, oh, what about this and what about that? That's how much I enjoyed it. So we got to do a whole show just talking about it, because you really,
that would be fun. That would be fun. I think the listeners would enjoy that too.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Great job, my man, and I want to keep talking to you about it some more. Next week, let's see, 2, 3, 4. We'll be 4 games into this thing. Will the Cavs still be playing basketball?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, I hate to raise that specter, but yeah, I mean, geez, that's...
They will. They will.
I hate to say I'm thinking about San Antonio 8 years ago, but
They'll get off the schneid on that thing. Don't worry about that, because much like Golden State as well, all the Cavs players can never say they've never played in a finals game either. I expect some differences in game 2. JK, thank you again, man, for joining us. It's not every year we get to talk about the NBA finals, man. So
no. No, it isn't.
Have a great week. Enjoy. Hey, we didn't even talk about the Tribe. They're warming up as well, man. So should be
they'll keep.
They'll keep. They'll be all right till next week. Yeah. But we'll talk about it, man. We'll see. We'll be through the Cleveland part of this series, and we'll see where things stand when we regroup next week.
Indeed. It'll be interesting. It's going to be an interesting week.
JK, keep going. The making of Major League. Keep pounding away, and we'll talk more next week, my friend.
You bet, buddy. You
got it. That is my man, the sports writer extraordinaire, Jonathan Knight. The book, by the way, that we're referencing is The Making of Major League, just a bit inside look at the classic baseball comedy, Major League. You can check out more makingofmajorleague.com. You can tweet with Jonathan Knight anytime at JKnightWriter, KNIGHT. You can hit us up at the Sports Fix CLE. Let's take a break, get you some news, come back. I'm opening up the phones to you guys. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. If I missed your call earlier, get in with me now. We're talking Cavs, NBA Finals, Indians, and more on the Sports Fix, coming up next after the news.
The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Intelligent talk.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
These guys must be on the wrong station.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!
The Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, do you tweet? So do we. So tweet with us 24/7 at the Sports Fix CLE.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
News break. Good morning, I'm Bob Picozzi. No player in the history of the NBA Finals scored more points in a Game 1 loss, but LeBron James scored only 2 of his 44 points in overtime. In Cleveland's 108-100 defeat at Golden State, James and his teammates shut out for the first 4 minutes and 51 seconds of OT.
We couldn't get a good look. We couldn't get none of the drop, including myself. JR had a really good look on the three at one point, but, they just ramped it up a little bit. They got to the free throw line. I mean, we really only had 0 points. I mean, I got a layup at the end, but that didn't mean much. So they did a good job of closing the game out in overtime.
And Cavaliers guard Kyrie Irving will undergo an MRI today after leaving the game with a left knee injury. Game 2 Sunday night in Oakland, 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC and 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution is reporting the sale of the Hawks to a group led by billionaire Tony Ressler is scheduled to be completed by June 24th. Semifinals of the French Open, 8-seeded Stan Wawrinka leads 14-seed Joe Wilfried Tsonga 2-1 and 3-1 in the fourth. Second round of the Memorial, the leader at 10 under par, Jason Duffy's played 7 holes. Tiger Woods won over, tees
this
off at
summer,
1 p.m.
Johnsonville reminds everyone to get their sausage family together to enjoy some plump, juicy brats around the grill. Because at Johnsonville, we don't make sausage, we make family and sausage.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live as we roll on, getting ready to hit the phones and talk to you guys here on the hotline as we get rolling. J-Rocc back with you here, and 216-539-7535 is how you can do just that. 216-539-7535, Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. Email us, thesportsfix@aol.com. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. Email us thesportsfix@aol.com. And there we go. I don't know. I had the phone. I thought I had it open, but apparently somebody said they couldn't get through. Here we go. Phones are open. 216-539-7535. And now they're ringing. There we go. All right, guys. As I said, J-Rocc back. Hour 2 rolling. Kickstart, a little motley crew in the background. The Cavs and the Warriors kickstarted the NBA Finals last night. Cavs on the short end of the 108-100 stick, but as I said, I find a lot of ways to come out of that and look positively towards what's to come. A lot of work needs to be done by the Cavaliers. This is not a walk in and take it home kind of thing, but I still stick with my convictions, man, and I believe that you will see the Cavaliers make some adjustments here. They're still coming out of the Golden State 1-1 at the end of 2 in this. Of course, Game 2 looming on Sunday, just about 65 hours from now or so, guys. Getting ready to go to the phones. We haven't even touched on the Indians, who, guess what, won yet another series here as they took Kansas City 2-3. Cannot understate that one. What a difference from the last time these two teams met to this time. And the Indians now come home, sitting on the brink of 500, cutting serious deficits out of the way in the division, and getting ready to maybe really start getting some steam rolled up, as you've got a couple of weaker teams now on this homestand, starting with Baltimore here. You got some big crowds, you got a bobblehead night, you got some fireworks, you got some reasons to feel good down there, and we'll get into all of that as well. But I want to talk to you first. I've got callers on the phone, so let's go there. Caller, you are first up, kicking off hour 2 on the Sports Fix.
J-Rocc Daddy.
Hey, this is my man LG. What's happening, my friend?
Jeez, oh man, J-Rocc Daddy, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. We lost one game, and the sky is falling in. Are you kidding me, brother?
Falling. I'm telling you, man. I mean, I wasn't joking when I said during my show prep this morning, I went back and pulled up. Luckily, you know, I keep my history. I don't erase it very often. So I went back a couple weeks and I found all kinds of articles at the beginning of the Chicago series and after Game 3 of the Chicago series. And you could just change the names and it was the same stuff that they were writing. And I'm not taking anything away from Golden State, but I stick with what I said with JK. I believe the Cavaliers showed that they can defend the Golden State Warriors. They can keep the Warriors under 100 points in the game. I believe they can do that consistently in this series, and that is what I wanted to see most from the Cavs. I mean, they kicked themselves for not winning because they should have stolen Game 1, and I expect to see them take Game 2 here and make some adjustments. But that's why I'm feeling good about it, because defensively they did many of the things that I needed to see, but I believed that they could do. And they did up until that little 3-minute window there in overtime, which I repeat, momentum and all of that was a piece of that. But I believe that the Cavaliers showed me enough that they're gonna bounce back, make some adjustments. And like I said, they're coming back to Cleveland tied at 1.
J-Rocc, Daddy, I'm not even a bit concerned about this because let's face reality, man. There's a whole lot of big difference between throwing down threes when you're under pressure of real game-time situation and you're doing it on the practice court at the Cleveland Clinic practice courts that the Cavaliers practice at. You know, this team had, 8 or 9 days off, J-Rocc? Let's blow the dust off these guys a little bit.
They both did. I mean, they both had the same amount of days off. I mean, I think the Cavs only had 1 day more than the Warriors, so they're equal in that regard. And both teams didn't shoot well.
One more day off.
Yeah.
One more day off to get a little bit more rust here. That takes us to the end of the buzzer at 98 all, and we tie them after having 1 more day off. Like I said, I'm not worried at the least bit. There's nobody in the NBA currently better at making adjustments after a tough game than LeBron James. And you can bank on that fact that this dude is have all the rest of them guys sitting in there watching films today and figuring out where they went wrong, even if you can go. I mean, really where they went wrong was having to go into overtime, J-Rocc, Daddy. The rest of the game, they played a fantastic basketball game. They were right there at the end. They had the last possession. They had a chance to win. Like you said earlier with J.K. or just yourself when you were opening the show today, they should have drove it to the hole and slammed it down, man. You're either going to draw the foul, 1 basket, 1 foul shot would have been enough to win that game before you go into OT, baby.
I agree. It is what it is. But when you're on the road, especially against a team that has only lost 3 home games all season, including the playoffs, you don't play an extra 5 minutes. You cannot do that. And the same thing could be said in Cleveland. You're not coming out of an extra 5 minutes in the NBA Finals in Cleveland. You win that thing at the buzzer and you walk it off. That's why a lot of times on the road, when a team has the ball in a 2-point scenario at the end of a game, even though they could drive for the 2, they'll take the 3 on the road. They'll go for the 2 at home because at home you play for the overtime. You want the extra 5 minutes to pull away. On the road, that's the opposite of what you want. You would rather lose the game or win the game on the final shot rather than take it to overtime because 5 more minutes in front of that crowd at home, it's just not a good scenario. I'm not saying road teams don't win in overtime, but that was it. That was the Cavs' window. They had it. They missed 4 shots at the end of the game. It wasn't just LeBron's shot. They had several chances to do it there. It didn't work out. You come out of here, you compartmentalize. You were encouraged by the things you did well. You look at the things that went wrong. I'll go right there. J.R. Smith's not shooting 3 for 13 throughout the rest of this series. He's going to, I believe, Game 2, J.R. Smith's going to come off. But defensively, Tristan Thompson, the Cavaliers in general, blocking shots, altering shots defensively, they definitely affected Golden State, and Golden State did as well. Early on in the game, you could really see, even in the Cavaliers players, bobbling of a lot of passes as the passes were zipped around. You could just see a little extra unsteadiness on the dribble. Golden State, the one thing I'll give them, I'll give them many things, but defensively, the one big credit you give them is they're long. They've got a lot of long arm-to-arm players. They can stick those arms out and get big wingspans on those. Guys like Sean Livingston even coming off the bench, and they've got a lot of big, long, athletic guys. So they're well, but the Cavaliers do as well. Shumpert stepped up with a big defensive effort. Kyrie had a big block that kept Golden State from scoring the game. I thought he jumped in some passing lanes as well. I think for all the talk of 22 points, defensively is where Kyrie Irving really earned his medal last night against the Warriors.
Oh, without a doubt, J-Rocc, Daddy. Kyrie, he lived up to to any kind of a challenge. He did have some great blocks. He offensively, of course, scored 23 points, and that brings up another topic. These people, they should be drug tested.
Who's these people,
media.
Larry? Who's these people? There's a lot of people out
media,
there.
Man.
The
they
national
should
media,
have mandatory drug tests, just like the players do. And like I'm reading this garbage. I don't even know why I waste my time reading it. This white horse, wind horse, whatever the heck his name is, right?
Yeah.
About Kyrie's dad coming to the team locker room and his agent coming out looking like he just seen a ghost. And you know what, J-Rocc Daddy? This is professional sports, baby. People get injured playing professional sports. Let's go back even to high school. People get injured playing sports. People get injured in junior high school playing sports. You're very fortunate if you make it through your kid playing career and make it to a professional sports team where you have a chance to make a boatload of money. So I don't want to hear all this garbage. Did the coach play him too long, or should he have sat longer, or what happened? You know what? This is what the guy chose to do as a career. People get hurt playing professional sports. I'm sorry, that's the nature of the beast, brother, and that's the way it goes. We've seen Cleveland Browns draft picks not even make it out of training camp and miss their entire career because of injury, J-Rocc, or staph infections or whatever the case may be. This happens in professional sports, so I feel terrible that Kyrie's knee hurts, and I feel terrible that he is maybe going to miss game 2. It would probably be a wise decision, because I don't care what they say. If Kyrie at 50% is better than no Kyrie at all, I don't buy that story. I think we're better off with the Australian in there. This guy will give you 110%. So 110% mad Australian is much better than a 50% Kyrie Irving. That's just my opinion. I'm sticking with it, J-Rocc Daddy. And I'm also sticking with the opinion that these guys just blew the dust off last night. There was a competitive game. Should we have won this game? Yeah, there's absolutely, unequivocally no doubt on my behalf that this game should have been won by the Cleveland Cavaliers. How they melted down in OT, I'll be honest with you, J-Rocc Daddy. I really expected the Cavs to come out smoking in that 5-minute period. I don't know what happened.
See,
I don't know why they didn't.
I'm with JK. I had that same feeling as him. Even though I didn't believe that there was no way that we could win, but I was like, boy, I just did not want to play 5 more minutes on the road, no matter who the team is.
Well, you don't want to play it, but you definitely have to play it. When you got a guy like LeBron James on your side, you didn't think they were. I mean, let's face it, you don't want to play it. I'll agree with you. And you know what, J-Rocc, it wasn't like Golden State played that great in the 5-minute overtime period.
The first 2.5 minutes, neither team could make a shot. Yeah, right.
The Cavs played that bad. And let's face it, they beat us by 10 points. 4 of those were foul shots coming from Curry. I mean, the guy doesn't miss foul shots, so...
Harrison Barnes hit the big 3 right after Kyrie went out, and that was it. Then the momentum, that was all they needed right there. So
they'll let the air out of the Cavs balloon, but
for sure.
Like
but here's
I said,
the thing:
I
got to be honest
with
you, Larry. I was more concerned about the Cavaliers losing Game 1 at home to Chicago than I was about losing Game 1 in Golden State in overtime the way the Cavaliers did. I mean, and I don't mean in hindsight. I mean when it happened. To me, it was much more shocking of an event to go, whoa, they let their guard down and got caught at home slipping here.
But they didn't let their guard down. They played a damn good basketball
It was the first game. What I'm saying, no. I didn't mean last night. I meant against Chicago. Right. And they lost at home, and it was because it was that Game 1 thing. And then look at the way they adjusted. Came back in Game 2. They lost Game 3 on a buzzer beater, and they didn't lose again the rest of the way. I think this series plays out much the same way. The Cavaliers let one get away in Game 1. They're going to adjust. They're going to rectify the situation in Game 2, and then the series will continue that way. And but I mean that's very. I had much more concerns against Chicago losing the first game at home than I did losing the first game in Golden State. That's all I'm saying.
that goes back to my earlier statement. There's nobody better in the NBA today, in this modern day and age, at making adjustments better than LeBron James, man. And, everybody's probably seen it by now, and it's worth repeating again. LeBron lost game one in both of his championship wins.
Yeah.
So he's used to it, It's the way the ball bounces. If anything, J-Rocc, you could say maybe the Cavs went in there, they felt out their opponent, they see what they're up against now. I mean, after one, I thought for sure the Cavs might run away with this basketball game. Of course, they're playing the other top-ranked team. They made it to the finals, so obviously the talent is there for the Golden State Warriors, or they wouldn't be in the finals. But really, J-Rocc, Daddy, it's like a fine fighter going into the ring. They poke, they jab, they dance around a little bit, they feel out their opponent, and then they go for the knockout blow. And there's nobody better at delivering that knockout blow in the NBA than LeBron James. And you can bet your bottom dollar, even with 44 points. Talking today, LeBron says he did not have a fantastic game, man. I expect... I know it's hard to say, or, to say you expect much more out of him in game two, but for some reason I do, J-Rocc, Daddy. I mean, this guy has the ability to rise to the occasion when he wants to, and I definitely think this is one of those times where he wants to, and I think we're going to see a whole different Cavaliers philosophy coming out in game two, man.
I do too, and let me tell you, we talk about all the time that what the experience, especially at the championship level, what you learn by that is the importance of every single possession, of every loose ball, of every rebound, of everything, because when you lose a series in the finals, then you spend all summer literally going back and remembering every ball that you could have ran faster for, every time you should have dove on the floor. LeBron has learned that. We've seen it. We've talked about it during these playoffs, and those are the things that these other guys need to learn. To me, the Cavaliers, every player not named LeBron James or James Jones that has finals experience, they came out of last night's game knowing that they let a road game slip away and that you can't afford to do that. And each one of them spent last night doing what I just said. In their mind, they're thinking of every loose ball that they should have dove after. They're thinking of, man, could I have got one more rebound? Could I have made one more pass? Whatever it was, that is a situation that they'd never been in before. Now they have. Now they learn from it and they go on. And this Cavs team, not just LeBron, this Cavs team has shown an ability to learn, to adapt, and to improve from game to game and from series to series throughout the playoffs. And I think that that's what you'll see again here. These guys know that if every one of them had just made one more play, had just made one extra play, the Cavs are up 1-0 right now and sitting pretty, and I think that will show itself in game two. They hadn't been there before. They've been there now.
Well, J-Rocc, Daddy, that's a very valid point you make there. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes you got to lose something to learn something,
For sure.
Sometimes you don't learn until it's gone. This one slipped away. It's gone. It's time to move on to number two. And I got to tell you, man, I'm feeling pretty good about this series still. I don't think some of the things J.K. was mentioning on the show today, that this is the best we can see of the Cavs playing defense. I don't agree with that. I think that they can improve. Just as you just mentioned, they can improve on every aspect of playing basketball as a team, and just making that more of an effort is going to be a big determining factor of how they come out of game two. And I think that this team's capable of doing it. I don't believe that this is the best we've ever going to see in this series. I think there's still more to come. I think it's time to dig deep. Let's face it, you don't get to... Some people have no idea, J-Rocc, Daddy, what it takes to get to the NBA Finals. You don't get to an NBA Finals very often, let's face it. And when you do, you have to seize that moment, dig down deep, pull it out of your gut, and play the kind of basketball it's going to take to dominate the other team. Whether it's at the end of the game, the middle of the game, coming out in the third period, it doesn't matter. You got to dig deep. You got to grab your guts out of yourself, and you got to give it everything you got. And like what you just said, could there be a few things some guys could have did different? It all comes down to more effort, J-Rocc, Daddy, is what I read from your statement there. More effort. This Cavs team would have won last night, man. Could they give more effort? Absolutely, and I think we're going to see that coming out in Game 2, man. But I agree with what J.K. said earlier. If Kyrie's, let's make the decision quickly. Let's move on from Kyrie Irving. Let's let the other guys know it's time to get ready. It's time to step in and step up and help this Cleveland Cavaliers team win a national NBA championship. You know what I'm talking about, J-Rocc Daddy? There's no sense waiting till the last minute, man.
I'm with you, LGZ, my friend, and we'll see Game 2 Sunday, 72 hours to adjust and adapt, and we'll see what they do. Just that, I'm looking very forward to Sunday evening at 8 o'clock and see what happens in Game 2. But I'm cautiously optimistic that many of the things that we said will transpire themselves in real life. Hey, LG, before I let you go, man, we've been talking Indians coming back home by this weekend, by the way, but we've been talking about them the last few weeks, you and I as well, and they continue to win the exact opposite of what was happening in the first month. They couldn't buy a series victory, and they continue to put them behind them. I'm incredibly impressed with the Indians coming off this series with Kansas City, because that was kind of the low point the last time these teams played for the Tribe, and really a much different series here, and really I don't want to say a statement 50 games into the season or whatever, but a statement as far as the Indians are reconstituted, feeling good about themselves, and continuing to dig out of the hole they found themselves in.
Well, I just got to go back to what we talked about the last time we talked about the Cleveland Indians when Trevor Bauer pitched, J-Rocc Daddy.
Yes, sir.
This kid, I don't know if he was a hardhead. I don't know if he wanted to listen to the coaches properly when he was being coached, or, some guys are just harder to get through than others, as you're well aware of when it comes to coaching somebody. And you got to like the way Bauer pitched 6 2/3 last night, only gave up 2 runs, 4 hits. You know what? He struck out 5. He walked 4. I'm a little worried. Hopefully he can get that under control, stop walking 4, because anytime you walk 4 guys, anything could happen. You know that. No sense giving another team extra outs, but my God, I mean, come on, man. The guy is definitely coming around. He's 5-2 now on the season, J-Rocc Daddy. Mickey Callaway probably found a way to break through to this kid, and now we're starting to see the dividends pay off in the Bauer trade. I mean, am I wrong, J-Rocc, or is this his 3rd season with the Tribe?
Yeah, he's absolutely.
It took 2 years to break through to this kid.
It's not just that. It wasn't just the Indians. I mean, that's the reason that the Indians were able to get him in the manner that they did and get him thrown in that trade, was because, there had already been the feeling that he was averse to certain coaching or whatever, and he was hard to get through to. So it was more of a, hey, you know what, you take your shot at it kind of thing. So the Indians kind of got themselves some pretty good value on that by taking the bet and the risk that they could get through a little bit more, and they are seeing some dividends. You knew the stuff was there. I mean, he was a top prospect for a reason. Yeah,
and it takes me back to the guy that left the Cleveland Indians. What was his name, J-Rocc Daddy? Ubaldo Jimenez.
We'll see our good buddy Ubaldo this weekend. Yeah.
He had great success when he worked with Mickey Callaway, and we didn't see that same great success when he left the Cleveland Indians, which, if you remember, when Ubaldo was talking about leaving, or when me and you talked back then, and I was skeptical if he would have the same success, because the Tribe is very fortunate to have a guy like Mickey Callaway. I mean, you know what it took to get the right pitching coach in place, J-Rocc Daddy. We went through several of them, and Mickey Callaway certainly doing a fantastic job for the Cleveland Indians pitchers, and we have a fantastic pitching staff. And like I said last time we talked to Tribe, barring injuries, J-Rocc, I'm expecting a lot out of this Cleveland Indians team.
And you should. The pitching is really coming into where we knew it was going to be. Check this out. Since the middle of May 18th, the Indians' rotation really started to dial in around the middle of May. Since the 18th of May, the Tribe starters are 11-2 with a 2.86 ERA in 113 plus innings there. Overall, of course, in that stretch, Indians, no surprise, they're 12-5. When you're getting starting pitching like that, and you mentioned Bauer last night, 2 runs in 6 2/3 innings. His last 5 starts, he's really dialing in as well. He's 3-1 with an ERA less than 1.75. He's hit the 7th inning every time out for the last 5 starts, and I mean that is what you've really wanted to see. I mean the Indians pitching, the starting pitching was what everyone knew, and that's the thing is that when you have pitching that good, you know it's going to come back. Like the Indians struggled early just getting things together, but you knew that was still there. And as long as that's there, you give yourself a chance. Now that you're starting to see the offense come together. And the other good thing with this pitching is that there's such a strikeout-heavy staff that it really – I saw Mike Brandenberry mention the other day on Twitter in a conversation he mentioned us in, and it was the perfect point. The Indians have the best possible pitching staff for this kind of awful defense that they have behind them, because the less balls that get put into play, the less chances these guys have. No, it sounds funny, but it's actually very serious.
Oh, it is funny,
J-Rocc, the more strikeouts,
yes, it makes total sense, man.
The less these guys will play. So you can, when you have a high strikeout staff, you can have a less than adequate defense behind them because they're only going to have to make so many plays, so you lower the opportunities. And but anyways, that rotation continuing to come. Bauer, as you mentioned there, Brandon Moss, the offense opening up, and a solid series victory there, man. They're coming in this weekend. You mentioned Ubaldo, our old buddy. Ubaldo's on tap, by the way, to face the Indians this weekend. But go ahead, LG.
I might sound like a broken record, but I want to go back to Mickey Callaway just one more time, because I just don't think, these are some of the unsung heroes behind the scenes, J-Rocc, that don't get enough credit. And I had the pleasure of having Mickey Callaway on my show in the past, and I got to just tell you this, man. If you look at the success that he's had, even with Carrasco, I mean, come on, there was times everybody wanted to hang Carrasco by his thumbs on public square, and there was times where you just wondered, is this kid ever going to come around and be the kind of pitcher that the Cleveland Indians need? For some reason, Mickey Callaway has a gift of breaking through to these guys, J-Rocc, and getting them to perform at the level that we need them to perform at. Now, remember one thing. This Cleveland Indians baseball team isn't a high-market team, meaning they don't have the money to go out and pay $200 million contract to some pitcher and bring him into Cleveland like you see Verlander or King Hernandez getting. And you just don't get that kind of money to play baseball in Cleveland. So I just got to give credit where credit's due. And this pitching rotation is fantastic, in my opinion, and I think one of the reasons is we were blessed with a pitching coach by the name of Mickey Callaway, man. I just want to put that out there because, like I said, enough people don't get credit sometimes when they're working behind the scenes. He's an unsung hero in my book, J-Rocc.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I've been preaching. You're preaching to the choir there because I've been preaching about Mickey Callaway forever. My man, I'll tell you what, this weekend, there's a lot of good reasons. If you guys have not seen the Indians since they struggled earlier, besides the play on the field, you're going to see them climb over 500 this weekend as they take on Baltimore. But there's all kinds of great stuff. Tonight, you got Dollar Dog Night. You've got fireworks. You've got Marquise Grissom from some of those 90s teams here. You've got Cardale Jones throwing out the first pitch tonight. Troy Smith is going to be there. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and it's going to be a great start to this homestand. You've got Corey Kluber pitching. Corey Kluber bobblehead tomorrow afternoon. You've got all kinds of things. The Mariners coming into town. GV Artworks down there today unveiling their new T-shirt that they're doing. You got the Cavs watch parties down there on Sunday, and I mean, there's a lot of great stuff going on. Downtown Cleveland, the place to be. But the Indians here with Baltimore and Seattle, they've got a chance to not just get above 500, but really start to get some ground, working their way back up that way too, continuing to cut away in the division. To me, they can't hit this homestand at a better time. The weather's nice. We've hit the beginning of June. The Tribe is playing well, and you've got a couple of teams that are struggling. Perfect chance for the Indians to really get some business going this weekend and next week with Baltimore and then Seattle.
And don't forget, J-Rocc, Daddy, this Indians offense, they're coming around a little bit better than what we saw earlier in the year, obviously. And they still aren't as consistent as we're going to see them in a couple more weeks because, bringing back Gomes, getting him back in the lineup, when his power comes back and he starts blasting the ball over the wall out there in center field, that's going to be a big help to the Indians. Get me some more consistent run-producing offense. Putting 6 runs up last night was huge for this Cleveland Indians team. We pulled that 2-1 victory off. That's huge. But I got to tell you, man.
If they could only score a few of those runs when Corey Kluber pitches. Corey Kluber, 12 starts. The Indians have only scored 24 runs versus 12 starts. Easy math, that's 2 runs per game. And Corey Kluber, imagine if they had gotten him some run support, man. But he's walking the tightrope every time out there.
Let's look at the Kluber matchups. Obviously, he's the ace of the Indians, being a former Cy Young winner last year. And every club that comes in to face the Indians is probably trying to keep their ace to match up against Kluber.
I agree in theory, but that doesn't really work out after opening day because you don't always. It's not always the ace against the ace. But I know what you're saying.
No, that's true. That's true. But I'm just saying you definitely try to have a better. You know that your club's going to struggle a little bit going up against a guy that had 50 strikeouts in his last how many outings?
Yeah, absolutely. He's up to he's got a 5-start stretch now with 59 or 60, excuse me. Yeah, the most in Indians history over a 5-straight game stretch.
So, you're definitely going to try to match up against a team like that because offensively your team should, in theory, struggle against a guy like Kluber. I just think good things are going to happen when I see some more consistency coming off the Tribe's bats, J-Rocc. That's going to make this a much more competitive baseball team, and they're going to end up giving this run support that Kluber needs to get a few more wins. But I'm impressed with Bauer. I'm impressed with Mickey Callaway. I'm impressed with the entire Cleveland Indians baseball team. We always knew, you and I, that there was plenty of baseball left to be played. It's the same thing with this Kyrie Irving injury and how people are. They want to hang the coach. They want to fire this guy. Why did you put him in for 44 minutes? Come on, J-Rocc, Daddy. There's like 110 or 109 baseball games left at this point in the season. That's a lot of baseball left to be played, brother.
Absolutely, Larry. My man, LG, great phone call as always. Got the Indians this weekend. You got the Cavs.
All right,
Game
J-Rocc,
2
Daddy,
on
I'm
Sunday.
Let you go. You keep up the good work, brother.
You got it, my friend.
Or did you have something else you wanted to ask me?
Nah, we're good, LGZ, man. I'm going to wrap it up with that perfect phone call, man. Thank you.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it. My man, LG from Cleveland Sports 360, great friend of the show. Let's take our final break, come back, going to set the stage for the weekend. The Tribe, the Cavaliers, UFC putting some strict new drug mechanisms in place. I'll talk to you guys about that and more. Gladiators and so much. Wrapping it up. Coming up next here on The Fix.
And now, a very special announcement from the Sports Fix.
Black bears weigh between 200 and 500 pounds. Brown bears weigh between 300 and over 1,000 pounds. Black bears run away from you. Brown bears run at you. When attacked by a bear, simply lie still on the ground and cover your face and head with your hands. When the bear is finished batting you around and mauling you, contact the U.S. Forest Service.
And that was a message from the Sports Fix.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, fantasyjocks.com. No football? No problem at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. From their awesome Wing Mondays to every single Cavaliers and Buckeye Hoops games in full HD.
Kyrie splits to D, goes inside, teardrops it home right down Euclid.
That's way up in there for two.
The excitement never stops. Every day of the week brings a different set of food and amazing drink specials.
And now,
fans, Harry Buffalo North Olmsted is the home for every UFC pay-per-view live on the big screens.
Let's get it all!
And let's not forget their mouth-watering trademark, the Bison Burger.
They sure are good.
Nobody does bison like Harry Buffalo. The perfect combination of healthy and delicious.
Hey there, eat up, y'all. You's as good church-going folk. Y'all deserve a little treat.
What are you waiting for? Get to Harry Buffalo, just outside Great Northern Mall today. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd.
Hi, this is Dean Chenoth, head coach of Cleveland's Lake Erie Monsters, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live, wrapping things up here for the week. You guys heading into a great weekend, sports weekend, at least here in Cleveland. You've got some home Indians baseball as the Baltimore Orioles come into town. We're waiting on Game 2 of the NBA Finals on Sunday night between the Cavs and the Warriors. All kinds of things going on, man. Larry brought up during the last call, by the way, talking about his old buddy Ubaldo Jimenez coming to town to face the Indians in this series this weekend. He'll be out there for the Saturday game. He'll be taking on Danny Salazar and Corey Kluber bobblehead game, and Sean Markham and Chris Tillman doing it up tonight. And then Sunday, to be announced by the Kansas City Royals, but Carlos Carrasco will take the mound for the Indians on Sunday to wrap up the three-game set before Seattle comes into town. Of course, don't forget tonight as well, they've got Dollar Dogs, they've got fireworks, and pre-game at the right field corner, they've got $2 Miller Lite cans from 5 to 7 You can come in pregame 2 hours before the game there and enjoy the $2 Miller Lights. They're getting the party going, and the Indians are warming up at just the right time for the fans here to have a homestand here. As I mentioned, you've got Baltimore. They're 24-29. You'll follow that up with the Seattle Mariners, who are 24-30, and it's a chance for the Indians to win 4 or 5 out of 6 here. Get yourself 4 or 5 games above 500 before you head out back on the road. Remember, Detroit looming here and more as you head out of this homestand, which begins this weekend. Tribe currently 26-27, 1 game below 500, looking to take care of that here and get above their, not only searching to get above 500, but looking to cut back into the division lead. 6 games back. 5 games back are the Detroit Tigers. The Indians have a chance this weekend to perhaps pass the Detroit Tigers in the standings for 3rd place. Minnesota and Kansas City up at the top. The Indians with the 2 out of 3 able to cut a game there between themselves and Kansas City. And they'll have Kansas City coming back in a few weeks as well, too. Should be a lot of fun as we watch some Indians baseball this weekend, mentioning all the good things that they've got going on. Of course, the Cavs, as we said, no need to hype it up any more than it is. By the time Sunday evening comes around, it'll be incredibly hyped up. As we've talked, that 7-day break, it was reaching ridiculous Super Bowl level proportions here. It won't be that bad by Sunday, but 72 instead of 48 gives you an extra news cycle to get this game fired up. Gladiators back in action this weekend. They've got a Sunday game coming up for the Arena Football. Cleveland Gladiators on the road in Vegas, taking on the Las Vegas Outlaws. My man, Doug Plagans. We got to get Dougie back on the show. He'll be calling the action, you guys, and you can hear that on the Gladiators radio network. We'll get Dougie back in next week to talk about it. Glads with a couple consecutive road games here. They've got Las Vegas, you've got New Orleans, you've got Tampa Bay, all coming up. No, excuse me. Tampa Bay is a home game. They'll be back at the Q 2 weeks from now. But this weekend in Vegas, taking on the Outlaws for the Cleveland Gladiators. There's a lot of things, as we've mentioned here, going on. You've got the finals of the French Open will be coming up. Djokovic right now, Andy Murray. Djokovic up 2 sets in the semifinal right now, looking to punch his ticket. Wawrinka's already going to meet him on the other side of the finals at Roland Garros. So big sports weekend, no matter what you're into. Big interest, of course, here in what happens in the next few hours with Kyrie Irving and his MRI. Will he be able to go out there, and will he be anywhere close to effective percentages here for the Cavs? That's going to be a big question. Speaking of questions, hey, Ramona Shelbourne, I got to give you credit. She put out an article this morning that was sent to me while we were talking earlier with Jonathan Knight about Brian Windhorst, and I keep going back to asking a guy a question and then saying, regardless of what he just said, here's what I believe. I mean, are we here to talk about what's going on, or are we here to talk about what we want to be going on? I don't know. But Ramona Shelbourne, again, asked Kevin Love point blank, are you coming back to the Cavaliers? You can't answer any clearer than this. Are you planning on returning to the Cavaliers next year? Yes, because I want to win. I mean, the guy is sitting, he spent his life in the polar north of losing in Minnesota for his entire basketball career. He's sitting in the NBA Finals and he can't play. And you don't think that he's dying to repeat this atmosphere? No, I'm going to go to the Lakers so I can make a bunch of money and play on a crappy team that just got out of the lottery. I'm going to leave a finals team so I can go take my chances with the Lakers and Kobe and Team Bryant out there, man, and Byron Scott, that awesome basketball coach. I mean, come on, some of this stuff is ridiculous. But I just want to know when Wendy's going to write the article that goes, regardless of what Kevin Love just told Ramona Shelbourne, my sources tell me that he doesn't like being in Cleveland and he's looking to leave and all that ridiculousness. But good stuff there. Kevin Love, I mean, what else are you going to say? I mean, what else? Seriously, Dan Wismar mentioned it the other day. What else can you say? You're going to be the guy that's ruining the playoff run and the good vibe for your team by saying, well, I'm thinking about my free agency. But he also has ways of answering that question if he wanted to without being as clear as saying, hell yeah, I'm coming back. I want to win. So take that for what it is. The Cavaliers are going to take Game 2 for what it is. When we get back here Monday, Dan Wismar is going to be in the house. The Cavaliers are going to be tied 1-1 and heading home for Games 3 and 4 of the NBA Finals. The Indians will be wrapped up with that series against Baltimore and getting ready to take on Seattle, so no shortage of things to do on Monday when Dan Wismar joins us live here on the Sports Fix. Thanks to you guys calling in. Thanks to Jonathan Knight, the sports writer extraordinaire, for joining us and more. And enjoy the weekend, whether it's Tribe, Gladiators, Cavaliers, no matter what your deal is, have a great time this weekend. Come on back Monday, same bad time, same bad channel, live at noon across the Sports Fix Radio Network. We love you, Cleveland and beyond. Have a great one, and we'll see you Monday right here on The Fix.
Survival's a must on these streets. We hustle, don't sleep. Out here in Cleveland, Cleveland, Cleveland.
Okay, now here we go. Welcome to the Cleveland show, but this ain't no call.